Aloha and welcome to the I'll Try That podcast. This week we are going all the way to Hawaii to try some beers from the Kona Brewing Co, where they have bottled Liquid Aloha, or canned Liquid Aloha, let's say. They've captured the essence of Aloha. I'll stop saying aloha and I'll say aloha to Barbara. Hello.
Aloha. Or is it... what's mahalo? That's the other one I've heard of. I don't know what thank you is.
There you go.
Oh, you've come to me. I know why. You want me to do some hot topic action.
Yes,
I accept...
That was very clunkily handed over. I apologise.
Well, it's going to give us the illusion of structure. I'll take it.
If I'm honest, I just got very excited by saying aloha
I think you did,
a few times.
That's going to come across, and I'm quite pleased that it did. But either way, I accept your challenge to take control of things from this point. And I want to talk to you about a very interesting thing that in many ways has been literally quite close to our hearts. And what exciting gimmick of the marketing world am I going to talk to you about? I don't even want you to guess. I don't even want you to guess. I'm just going to tell you.
Can I give you a couple of things? The metaverse. Are you going to talk to me about the metaverse, or are you going to talk to me about NFTs? That's all the buzz right now in our marketing world is talk about NFTs.
NFT, no flipping time for those, I'm afraid. Actually, you got a little bit too modern, actually, to be honest. For someone who's just basically a grumpy old man like me, actually, this topic is a little bit old. No, I'm going to talk to you about QR codes.
They're still forever relevant, Barbara.
Is that still
ever relevant?
Okay? All right. I don't need a new pop culture reference just yet. Anyway, then that's all right. So I'm not going to talk to you about QR codes. I'm going to talk to you about a QR code. How big do you think the average QR code is? I'm thinking.
Oh, it's small, thumbnail size. Something you can just scan on your phone on the back of a can or something, or piece of packaging.
Like an inch squared. No, two or 3 centimeters then squared, I guess.
If that, an inch squared is probably a bit too big of a QR code. It look a bit too big.
I'm looking on the cans I've got to hand, and I'm thinking like the size of the barcode that you would get on there. So that's what I would think of the normal ones. We also, I don't know if anyone who's been keeping a close eye on our socials will have seen when we were at the Craft Beer Festival earlier this year. We did get T-shirts printed with a QR code to take people to the podcast if they wanted to listen to it. Those were quite big, weren't they? Those were probably
huge.
I don't know, 18 inches.
Well, they basically covered the whole of the back of the T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
By design, obviously. But we actually found to our detriment that was a bit too big because you had to kind of stretch out your back quite a lot for someone to get without the ripple effects of our rippling muscles.
So I would have thought those were pretty big. And again, maybe they were like a foot in width or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe a bit more than that. How big do you think the biggest QR code that's ever been created was?
Why? Why would someone create the biggest QR code?
Well, because you're a big-time brewery, and this happened in the summer. I can't believe this wasn't bigger news, and we haven't covered it sooner. I'm sure you'll know, the America's oldest brewery is...
Yuengling.
Bingo, got it in one. So Yuengling took it upon themselves to create the world's largest QR code, which was, again, to be honest, I've gotten so obsessed with the size of it that I didn't actually pursue what went down into
Why?
the QR code. It was to war veterans in the US. That phrase, to honour the nation's heroes. That was the reason. Okay. And it was also in conjunction with the fact that basically they wanted to also do something with the farming community, because obviously that's a fairly significant contributor to brewers. Sorry, I keep laughing because it's massive, right? This was this August. It took them, from they had to start planting all the different seeds in May.
Hang on. So they grew this QR code.
Yeah, they grew it. rather than it's not a crop circle, which I think would have been.
Oh my word!
Better.
So it's not like they've just printed something out and stuck it down or whatever.
No.
They've grown through plants or crops to create a QR code.
Yeah,
jeez.
It's apologies. I just I got the actual where it took you. It's to go and take this immersive experience with so it's called the Digital Stars and Stripes experience. But do you want to have a guess at how big we're talking? So it was a square. Oh. So it was. I was going to talk about the width of it, but the width will be the height as well. So if you want to have a guess how big or what the width of it was, that's probably the easiest way.
I've got an idea. I don't know the width of it, but I mean it's. You're saying it was grown out of plants, out of crops. Gosh, I mean. Shall I do it in like football fields, like American football fields?
I have got that. I have got how many football fields?
I'd say a football field. I think it's the size of a football field.
So I'm going to put it in the basically a quarter of a mile was the width. So
whoa,
that's about 20 football fields.
Jesus. Okay, so that's crazy.
It's big. It's real big. And we just like big stuff, don't we?
Well, that phrase springs to mind of, they were so consumed with trying to get it to work, they never stopped to think of why they should do it. How does that phrase go? Something along that lines.
They were so obsessed with why they never thought about whether they should, whether they could or whether they should, rather. Yeah. We're on the same page. I quite like that. It's actually I was reading a book recently, and there's a Stephen King book, and he talks about a few different things, and he says he was trying to write this huge, long saga. If anyone reads the books, they're called the Dark Tower series, and he was like, I wanted to write something that was like as long or longer than Lord of the Rings, and I think that's what summed it up here. Is he's pretty much gone, why? Because it seemed like a good idea at the time. So, either way, I like it. It's a big thing. There you go. So
got it.
Yeah, nice. We're going to have to get one massive T-shirt next year.
I mean, that's the bar, isn't it? 20 football fields wide. Jeez, that is crazy.
You're going to have to fly over it to actually scan it, I figure.
I was going to say, so is that how they're expecting? Is it over like a flight path, for example, a well-traveled flight path? I hadn't
caught that, actually. You see in the images are taken from a plane. So, yeah, I think that's
okay.
Fair
so I presume that's... Because there is no way someone from the ground can actually scan that QR code. Let's put it that way.
Unless they are, exceptionally tall. But it's in...
How tall are you thinking?
Really tall. I'm taller than... Taller than 20 football fields. It's in Indiana. So there's farmland. Yeah.
They're really tall over there.
That's it. They stick them in a grow bag. They've been able to take pictures of the QR code easily. But yeah, there's it's in Chalfont Family Farms in Indiana. If anyone is thinking of a voyage to go and have a look, but yeah.
Well, I imagine it's probably not there anymore given the season. We're down here definitely in the autumn.
That's a good point. Yeah. Sorry, it's winter now. So
if it's made of crops, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, listeners, if you've booked your tickets. I'm sorry, I might have just told you the information was just a bit too late. So quick.
Well, you can go and enjoy the other sites of Indiana. You can go watch the basketball, the Indiana Pacers. You can do other Indiana-based bits, which that's about as much as I know of Indiana.
Wow, blimey, how are you going to fit all of that in, Joe? Or
go see some corn.
Or hang on, look, we can do this. We're gonna get like structure again, like we talked about earlier. Stay on the plane, if you're coming from the UK, for instance, keep going, maybe a slight change of direction, and head over with us to Hawaii.
I love that transition. What a great transition, Barbara.
It wasn't contrived.
We are now... No, absolutely not. I think it felt very natural. So yes, we're in Hawaii. I only know Hawaii from the movies and from picture books, and those moving machines.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I don't know. I'm just excited because Hawaii looks incredible. It looks like paradise, doesn't it?
It is. It's always been like when I was like a kid, like a fast car was a red Ferrari, posh food was lobster, and like island paradise was Hawaii.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Those
yeah,
are
I'm with you on. I'm following
like
that
your
logic.
standard bearers for those.
And I think Hawaii still is. I think it's it's still the highest, even though the likes of Mark Zuckerberg own one of the biggest plots of land on Hawaii, and there's all this kind of thought of people coming over and taking over the land, and pricing the locals out of it and yada yada. There's this obviously a bit of a different land to it now, but the essence of Hawaii is in theory captured in Kona Brewing Co. And they are based on the Big Island, which is Hawaii itself. So Hawaii is a space, there's quite a few different islands that make up the islands of Hawaii. And the big one, the Big Island is Hawaii. And this is where this Kona Brewing is based. So, if I'm honest, I only know Kona Brewing from my local M&S because they tend to, this Kona beer has just cropped up in M&S, and it's been all the rage. And I must say, it's become my reverse commute little tipple. When I'm waiting to get the train from London back home, I'll swing into M&S and pick up a couple of Konas, and then sit on the train having a nice little sip on the Kona when I've got a late train home or whatever. So I've got fond memories already of a nice Kona on a train.
I can totally see it, and I think M&S, they do a good selection of like craft beers as well. I think they try and keep them. Normally they try and keep them quite local to your store. However, Hawaii is not local for us, is it? But it also, no. I'd spotted them. I was interested to check because I don't think they've been stocking them for that long, because I've had a few people mention to me having a Kona, and it had been a while. It'd been a long time coming that I'd had one, but it does stand out, I think. In like on a shelf. As soon as I sort of went in and saw
it's incredible.
In there, I was like, there you go. It looks different. It kind of, there is a slight whiff of the design of a can of Umbongo. But there's a little bit of that.
But for our American audience, let them know what an Umbongo is.
I thought we talked about Umbongo before. Umbongo, I don't even know what it is. I just know that the next line is "Sip it in the Congo." It was tropical fruit juice drink.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, aimed at kids. Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
It. Yeah, sorry,
but yes,
the kids drink, like proper jungle vibe, and I think like a monkey swinging from a tree. It was always pretty good juice.
With a very catchy tagline that you still remember. It's great.
So it was a marketer's dream, that, isn't it? Yeah, but it looks a little bit like that, but it's also quite that. It's a really pleasant, like, ocean scene. I don't know what that sort of illustration thing is kind of called, but it's almost
a style.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, you sometimes see those posters for actually like the French Riviera and stuff as well. So I mean that's in quite stark contrast to what I was just saying about Umbongo, but it's really eye catching.
Yeah, well, I think that you've nailed it with Kona, is that they have. Literally, the can design has captured what we feel it must be like in Hawaii. And obviously there is an element of this. They are from Hawaii, so they've probably like looked out their window or gone to different parts of the island and captured it and then drawn an illustration of that on the can. Because it looks like it transports you there. And maybe that's why I'm drawn to it on my reverse commute in the depths of, darkness on a train at 9 o'clock at night, traveling back from the office. Maybe I want to be transported to Hawaii, and so my consumption of this beer is why I want to transport myself away into a little bit of me time, and maybe I'm thinking I'm in Hawaii. I don't know. Looking at this can, because it's incredible.
It's your escapism from the concrete jungle. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah. So almost because I haven't been to Hawaii, this wholeheartedly reinforces what I think Hawaii is.
Yeah.
So, maybe going there will completely dissipate this, but I don't think so. I think they're pretty on point.
Yeah, well, they go quite hard in on if anyone goes and like reads up on them, it is like that whole surfer vibe. I think most of the beers are named for that reason as well. So it's Longboard is the island lager. What's the Big Wave is the golden ale. I think I looked on the designs of like a lot of their others, and it is like, sea based. So I am again, actually, I don't know this for sure, but I was jumping to the conclusion that the founder, a chap called Cameron Healy, who I think founded it with his son Spoon Kalsa. I just figured, I know that's a hell of a name, isn't it? Spoon.
That's a great name.
I sort of kind of wish that he was named after like a specific piece of brewing equipment, but you can't have everything.
Spoon,
hop spoon or something. Keg. I don't know. Keg would be better. Yeah, Keg Phillips. That's what you want to be called if you want to be a brewer.
That's a strong brewer's name.
Keg
Phillips.
But they've been doing this since 1994. I shouldn't assume. I figured they were surfers as well. But I think that's what they've kind of been leaning on. It's that Hawaiian lifestyle, I think, isn't it? And we obviously, anyone who's, even though those of you who haven't been there will know that like surfing and the sea is kind of like a bit of a vibe out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm quite intrigued by Kona, and obviously we'll get into what they're referring to as Liquid Aloha and that in a second. But looking at their other beers that you mentioned and other drinks, they actually have a whole range of island seltzers. So they've lent into this whole area of having an alternative to beer, and the breweries going into this seltzer area. So yeah, they look very cool. They look very on brand for Kona as well. But Barbs, maybe you can tell us a bit about Aloha and a Liquid Aloha. Have you Aloha? I've probably not pronounced it correctly.
So Aloha, as I think we touched upon earlier on, is hello and goodbye, I think, isn't it? But the Liquid Aloha idea is that it's I'm paraphrasing here, but kind of I was going to say kind of community, but it's actually just there are I think, as they've put it, we are all connected. Everyone and everything is connected, and it's about the joy of respecting that connection. It's a very positive, friendly.
It is
sort of vibe, isn't it? It's like love in a can, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's more of a feeling than it is like a word or anything, isn't it? It's like, I know we say aloha, but we know it as like hello, maybe goodbye as well. But it feels like that's what they're kind of getting across. Is it's a state of mind. It's a way of being. Is that as well? I think that's really, really quite strong. That's very strong, obviously. I love the sound of that as well. Everyone loves to have a bit of aloha and to just channel that coming in. So, I mean, Kona Brewing itself, as they're kind of a lot of work that they're doing is, as you'd imagine, it's kind of Hawaii or kind of like, water orientated. So they're doing a lot of work right now about, they're calling Catch a Clean Wave, which is their program for cleaning up beaches, removing of plastic and waste from the oceans. So they're kind of very, very cool. They've done some collaborations with Rain Spooner to make some some different shirts. Those kind of classic Hawaiian shirts, as you can see. So kind of famous fashion designer. So that's cool. Obviously they've done their seltzers. They've done seltzers. So they've done like cocktails and stuff with it. So I think there's just that everything is very much focused around and actually Catch a Clean Wave is not only is it they're kind of cleaning the beaches kind of thing, but they're also it's also a surf trip. So it's, as well as cleaning, you actually get to surf the beaches as well. So they're kind of really leaning into, it's quite literally cleaning beaches, but also as well using the benefits of having a clean beach.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this thing I did notice this picking up. It's Hawaii. I think also not just these guys who brew it. I think the locals really proud of just the natural beauty of the place, isn't it? So, I mean, to be honest, if they're making beer from their brewery that is meant to celebrate everything Hawaii, then actually looking after the place obviously has to be quite a significant part of it as well. I understand also the original brewery style, is it again, difficult one for pronunciation, but it's Kailua Kona. That's still in place as well. They've expanded and had another brewery as well, but the original is still in place. So again, I always have that in mind that that would have been built with a bit of sort of respect to the local environment. Although I suppose also it was in 1994, so we've probably come on a fair way since then in terms of actually if you were building one from scratch and making it sort of efficient and sort of environmentally friendly is probably probably things have stepped on a bit from there.
I was quite interested to know, you mentioned before about it started up in 1994 by a father and son team, and do they still own the business? So I was doing a bit of digging behind this, and the truth is, it looks like they're now owned since 2020 by a company called PV Brewing Partners. And they completed this acquisition in 2020 from a Craft Brew Alliance Inc. Now, I was trying to dig around this because I'd never heard of any of these companies before, but Craft Brewing Alliance Inc. was purchased by AB InBev in 2020, which coincided with them basically selling off this Kona Brewing Company to this PV Brewing Partners. So, I was still, so they're now owned by this, company who look to be like a private equity firm. Basically, PV Brewing Partners is an equity firm.
It was sounding a bit complicated, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, for good reason. That's what they're trying to do. They make it, so it's owned by a private equity firm. But from their marketing, it looks like, their family and their Instagram, it looks like they're, I don't know if they're kind of their big thing is this. I think is Sonny. So he's kind of he's still very much involved in this. So Spoon, sorry, not Sonny. Yeah. Spoon is very much involved still in and he's doing like Instagram videos, and they've recently done a TV spot for March Madness back in 2019. Actually, it wasn't too long ago. So they're still kind of the face of the organisation and Kona Brewing Company.
Yeah, of course. What do you think of the beer? I mean, I know.
Good question.
Said that already. It's become a staple for you, but I was quite surprised by the amount of flavour I was getting from the Longboard Island Lager. I thought this was going to be more of I don't know, more basic, I suppose, but it's quite quite hoppy, and I mean, actually, it's got I think it has a pale malt in it, but it's I mean, that's going to explain that it was this was it. This is what I loved. I could find their hops. So Mount Hood, Hallertau, Sterling, and Millennium.
Okay.
And I think it is quite hoppy for a lager.
It is hoppy. As a lager goes, it's got so much flavour to it. You hit the nail on the head there. It's unusual. It's a very unusual tasting lager because it's got so much flavour to it. It isn't your usual kind of American lager in that sense of like being a bit like everyday whatever. This is something different, and it's very refreshing. After you've had a couple of sips of it, you're drinking something different. Yeah. So the lager is really interesting. It's not your average everyday kind of clean cut lager. It has got a bit more of a flavour palette to it.
That's it. Like it's got a bit more oomph. I'm not going to use the P word. Yeah. It's got a bit more oomph at 4. It's got a bit more oomph at 4.6% than I would say some of those premium lagers, macro, possibly also the word for them. That are sort of 5.2%. So it's quite nice. I also had to do a double take because I was like, is that can big, or am my eyes tired or something? It is a 355 ml, isn't it? And I think I looked at it.
Yeah, that is ever so slightly
really
bigger.
Really subtle, difference. But also, I think that lends itself. We were just saying about how sort of bold the flavour of it is. I think that makes sense because you would want to be drinking this in the. I don't think I'm sure I'd cope with it fine, but I don't think I would go for 500 mils of it at a time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually, now that you've come to mention it, I always assumed that it was a 330 ml, but actually now you've said it, I've looked at the can, it's 355 ml, as you said. It actually feels bigger, unsurprisingly. But I've always...
your eyes have not deceived you, and nor have your hands. Actually, that's good.
But now I'm holding it in my hand. I'm now going, whoa, this is such a big can for...
but at the same time, it's not. It's just a tiny bit bigger than the other one. It's like I did a double take.
You're like a tiny person drinking from a huge can.
We're really easily impressed. Just anything made slightly bigger is this is incredible.
They must be so much bigger in Hawaii. Honestly,
I did this massive double take. I was like, look at that. Thought it was a normal sized can. It's bloody not.
It's not. Think of that extra value you're getting each time you buy a can.
I know. I'm not buying 330ml cans like some mug anymore.
No. For you bargain hunters out there, you're going to not drink anything but Kona. You know, you're getting 355ml for probably a 330ml price tag. Right, flavour wise, talk to me about the golden ale. What are the big wave golden ale? What's your thinking?
That sort of question, I think, is richly deserving of me tasting some and then having a think.
Well, I presume you'd be doing like me, and I've been swapping between the lager and the golden ale.
I have been. I did a little jump back and forth, but I was focusing in on the lager. Let me
yeah.
Okay.
A little. What's the bouquet?
I was thinking a fine bouquet. Yeah. So I wouldn't call that a golden. It is golden ale, isn't it? But it tastes to me like a pale. I think. Yeah. It's for another one that's sort of 4.4%. It's quite bold. It's not as bold as the lager. I think it's almost the session option of the two. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The lager was kind of like hoppier for sure. It felt like kind of that kind of like vibe. The golden though, it's got a really interesting flavour to it because it's almost like well, I mean, gold's not a word and it's a golden ale, but it's got kind of a malt to it that's giving this long taste at the end. Like it lingers, doesn't it? The taste of the beer lingers around your mouth a bit longer.
Yeah, I think that's about right. There was something about it I couldn't quite put my finger on, and I think I was just doing my check of which hops. Where are they gone? Do you want to have a guess? There's one where it's very easy to say now that I've got it written in front of me, but there was one I was like, knew that was in there. There's Galaxy and Citra hops.
I was going to say Citra. Everything's got Citra at the moment.
Bloody knew that was Citra hops. I might be
bloody Citra.
But
Galaxy makes sense. Galaxy is quite an interesting choice on that one. I think that's a really interesting blend of hops.
Yeah, and I think I picked it up. If I think of a golden ale, and again, who wants to bang brewers over the head with? Well, actually, I think the name of that type of beer is actually what you've got there is more of a something or other. Because also these guys who've actually made this probably know better than me anyway. But I didn't think of this kind of beer when I thought of a golden ale. I think of really weirdly. There's Speckled Hen do their alternative, their golden, which is Golden Hen. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking of. But this is a golden from a very different part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think they're meaning golden by like kind of it's like a easy drinking, like kind of beer. That's the attitude that I get, that they're kind of this Aloha, Liquid Aloha feeling. It's less about the style of beer. It's more about how it makes you feel. Yeah. And I would give it to them. I think this beer is very easy drinking. It's very smooth. It gives that kind of nice lingering taste to it. It's meant to be consumed slowly, I feel. If you were to kind of start pounding these down, you'd be missing out on what this beer has to offer.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is also, to me, I always seem to make this weird context, this weird setup for when I drink the beer, and it's always the same. I think this is the sunny day beer as well. And this is, you crack a couple of these with a barbecue, more so than I think the lager, which I wasn't expecting to say beforehand.
No, I think you're right. I think out of the two, my preference has been this golden ale. I like the Island Lager a lot. But I think it's got, it's nowhere near as smooth tasting as this golden ale. Yeah.
So I think Kona themselves describe it as like quite bright, but sort of lighter, brighter. So
lighter, brighter.
Their words. I'm going to quote them: bright hop aroma, but lighter body. Because actually, this is
which, if I'm honest, that sounds much better than your phrase of lighter, brighter.
Lighter, brighter. Yes, I'm a bit carried away then. I like this because also if you want to go and look into them as well, they do quite a good profile on each of these. And actually, we've gone into sort of the, in inverted commas, hard facts about them. There is also a backstory to each one as well, which I won't tell everyone about here and now. Go and have a look because they are quite interesting as well. And actually, I think it helps you get into a little bit of the island vibe if you do that.
So, throw some numbers your way.
I love numbers.
Instagram, they've got 117,000 followers. This is Kona Brewing.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Twitter, they have 33,000 followers. So I love this Kona Brewing Company. I love what they're all about. I think they're a breath of fresh air in very, diverse
as well.
Yeah, it's like they're surfing on in here as a firm favourite of mine. I like this Big Wave Golden Ale a lot. This is the first time I properly consumed their Island Lager actually, and trying to really tasted it. I think it's really interesting, but for me, out of the two, the Big Wave Golden Ale kind of tips the bucket for me.
Yeah, you're right. Interesting is the word for the Island Lager. And do you know what? I just the more I think about these guys, the more I think they're very easy to like, aren't they? And it's just in a world where we're blessed with lots of craft breweries at the moment, but they just they'll be able to stand out because that is a real identity, isn't it? The Kona, they're the Hawaiian ones. Like you'll be able to remember that. And as we were just sort of touching on before, the whole ethos is hard not to like, isn't it?
It's hard not to like. It's also hard not to want it. They're selling a lifestyle after all. It's a beer, but they're selling a lifestyle, which is the Hawaiian lifestyle and way of being. And it's hey, talking from personal experience, it's nice to have this escapism of drinking one of these on the train.
Yeah, spot on.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barbara,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.